A little while ago I made a video about why the first season of Space 1999 still holds up so well. Even though it's nearly 50 years old, it still feels big, atmospheric, and unlike anything else on TV. Well, here we are, and honestly, this is one of the clearest cases of network meddling I've ever seen. It is another classic story of executives looking at something unique and deciding the problem wasn't that people hadn't found it, the problem was the show itself. So they tried to fix something that wasn't broken, and in doing so, they broke it. Welcome to watching nonsense unfold. One of the things I loved about the first season was its confidence. It wasn't trying to copy anyone, it wasn't trying to chase trends, it simply trusted the audience. Episodes felt mysterious, sometimes unsettling, sometimes they asked big questions without giving you every single answer. Space felt dangerous. Moonbase Alpha never really felt safe. Rewatching it recently, I was reminded just how cinematic it looked. The special effects still hold up incredibly well. Barry Gray's score gives the whole series a haunting atmosphere, and the stories focused on big ideas instead of just throwing cheap action at the screen. But apparently that wasn't enough. The series sold well across the world, but it failed to land the major American network deal the studio wanted. So instead of asking why, the bosses came to a quick conclusion. The show's too slow, it's too serious, it's too British, it needs more action. So instead of building on everything that made Space 1999 different, they decided to reinvent it. To handle this massive overhaul, the studio brought in producer Fred Freiberger. Now, whether you think he deserves all the blame or not, the new direction was obvious. Season 2 would be faster, louder, more action-packed, more aliens, more fights, more obvious. Instead of mysterious sci-fi, we started getting a standard Monster of the Week show, and to me, that is where the studio completely missed what people actually liked about Season 1. The slower pace wasn't a weakness, it was the main part of its identity. The silence, the isolation, the strange encounters, the feeling that humanity was completely out of its depth. That was the actual appeal, but instead, executives looked at those exact strengths and treated them like problems. It is amazing how often TV networks still make the exact same mistake today. The shake-ups hit the cast next. Key faces just vanished from the screen. Professor Bergman, David Cano, gone with barely a word of explanation. Losing Bergman was easily the biggest mistake. He was the heart and brain of the crew. Whenever Koenig had to make a tough call, Bergman was his anchor. Without him, the whole base feels empty. Which brings us to Maya. Before anyone complains in the comments, this is nothing against the actress. She gives a great performance. My issue is the corporate thinking behind her. She sounds like an executive checklist. Younger face, check. Alien character, check. Sci-fi gimmick, check. Suddenly, we have a hero who can turn into anything the writer wants. It isn't organic storytelling. It's just a marketing stunt. Then came the visual overhaul. The beautiful main mission set, gone, replaced with a much smaller command center. The sleek, minimalist uniforms, gone, replaced with brighter jackets and colourful patches. Barry Gray's haunting score, gone too. Everything suddenly feels brighter, busier, and way less sophisticated. Individually, you could argue none of those changes really matter, but together they completely changed the personality of the show. Season 1 had its own unique identity. Season 2 feels like it's trying way too hard to be something else. You could easily mistake them for two completely different shows. And here is the irony. None of those changes actually worked. The old fans were left wondering where their favourite show went, and the new American audience never showed up. So instead of winning over both groups, they lost them both. And that is why this story is so fascinating, because we see this exact same loop over and over again. Network meddling, corporate notes, chasing a casual audience, modernising the plot, adding more action, dropping in more jokes, and taking zero risks. Until eventually, the exact thing people loved is completely gone. To me, Space 1999 wasn't cancelled because people suddenly stopped liking smart sci-fi. It struggled because the bosses lost faith in what they already built. Instead of trusting the fans, they trusted focus groups. Instead of sharpening the formula, they threw it away. And that is a lesson TV networks still haven't figured out. Sometimes the exact thing that makes a show different is the exact thing that makes it special. When you try to please absolutely everyone, you end up pleasing no one. If you've watched both seasons, I'd genuinely love to hear your thoughts. Which season do you prefer? Do you think season 2 gets an unfair reputation? Or do you think the studio really did destroy what made Space 1999 unique? Let me know down in the comments. If you enjoyed watching this industry nonsense unfold, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and if you haven't already, check out my earlier video explaining why I think the first season still holds up so well.